Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo. Bienvenidos, welcome. My name is Jedley. This is Reading with Your Kids. We are beaming out to you and the entire world from the beautiful book-loving neighborhood of Reedville, the loveliest neighborhood in all of Boston. Our mission is to help families everywhere grow closer through reading. We celebrate the power of stories, stories that inspire, uplift, and remind us how strong families become when they read together. Whether you're joining us from your kitchen table, your classroom, or your car, we're so happy that you're here. Please be sure to let everybody in your family know that you can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And you can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, Audible, YouTube, wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. Really fun episode for you today. First up, Brooke Hartman and Michael Slack are here to celebrate their new picture book, Excavators. And later in the show, Selina Alko will be here to celebrate her beautiful picture book, otherwise known as Judy the Great, the biography of Judy Blume. Hey, this episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by the books by Dr. Peter Cotton. In particular, When Fred the Snake Goes to School. What happens when your best friend is a snake and he wants to go to school with you? After a happy summer full of fun and friendship, Fred the Snake decides he's ready for his next big adventure, school. But when Fred slithers into the classroom, students, well, they're not so sure. A snake in school? And when Fred the Snake goes to school, kids discover what happens when we give someone new a chance. Fred may look a little bit different, but he quickly wins everyone over by being kind, playful, and surprisingly helpful. He twists himself into a jump rope. He curls up into a soccer goal, and before long, the class realizes something very important. Sometimes the friend you're unsure about becomes the one you can't imagine school without. This award-winning book received the Mom's Gold Award and glowing 5-star reviews from readers' favorite and Goodreads, calling it an enjoyable story to read aloud at home or in the classroom. Written by Dr. Peter Cotton, who we loved having on Reading with Your Kids, this is the second book in the delightful Fred the Snake series. It's a joyful reminder that kindness builds trust, differences can be strengths, and school is always better when somebody feels welcome. My friends, we are in for a treat. Joining us first from Alaska, where it is warmer than it is here in Boston right now, the author of Excavators, Brooke Hartman. Brooke, how are you?
Hey, I'm pretty good. I'm not too cold, so there's that.
Yes, I'm jealous. I really am jealous. And also joining us from Northern California, the illustrator, Michael Slack. Hey, Michael, how are you?
Hey, good. How's it going?
Going well. I'm cold, but I'm colder than Brooke. That's for sure. Brooke, tell us about Excavators.
It is a fun, bouncy, rhymey construction site swamp creature story. So this book, I threw in all the fun stuff that I love in books and that I know kids love in books. And I hope parents and kids end up loving this book as I loved writing it. It was just a lot of fun. And the title is obviously a pun on the word excavator and alligator, which was dreamed up by my daughter when she was a lot younger and could not say the word excavator and called them Excavators. And we just all laughed and thought it was hilarious until one day I was like, hey, that's actually a good idea for a book. So I don't know how long she was saying that before I actually was like, maybe I should do something with this idea, but that's how it came to be.
You know, I think lots of little kids love seeing that big construction equipment in action. I'll tell you, I'm kind of feeling it now as a person who's almost 100. I'm falling back in love. We got dumped on with 23 inches of snow a couple of weekends ago. And so the city here in Boston, we have these things called snow farms where you put all the snow and you bring it to one place. And we have one for the very first time in our neighborhood. And I am watching these huge construction machines on top of a mountain. It is literally a mountain of snow that is towering over a street. We have to go over a bridge to go over the railroad, and this mountain is higher than all of it. And my wife yesterday, we driving by it, and she goes, "What if that thing slips? How is it not falling off the top of that mountain up there?" And imagining how scary it would be being inside that excavator. And
Yeah.
so tell me, Michael, what was your first thought when you received the manuscript? Did you know immediately the image that you're going to be creating?
Not really. I mean, my first reaction was that I really enjoyed the wordplay and thought it would be a wonderful read aloud. And, like I've never illustrated a book with a alligator as a main character or a swamp setting. So both of those were very appealing. But, the main thing that drew me to the project was the wordplay and, just it's a great read aloud. Kids are going to love reading it and having it read to them. I think it's going to get a lot of repeat readings, Yeah. I mean, So it was just, it was just a lot of fun. It just seemed like a lot of fun.
So tell me, Brooke, what's this alligator and the construction equipment? What kind of mischief did he get into?
Coming up with the plot for this book, I had the character. I mean, the character was solid. It was an alligator who drives an excavator. That was obviously in my head from the beginning. And I just knew that he was very excited. He was excited. He just wanted to get out there. My dad was we had our own excavator, mini excavator that we had to do all kinds of house projects. So I grew up around smaller construction equipment. And then my husband uses all kinds of stuff occasionally to do outdoor house projects. And so I wanted to get that good onomatopoeia in there, the sounds and the rumbling and all of the sensations of the engines and the dirt tumbling down. And so I really wanted to make sure I got those feelings and those sounds on the page, because that way it will just bring that sensation out of being around that fun construction equipment, driving that fun construction equipment. And then the plot itself, I thought, okay, well, this is all exciting, but it has to have a plot. And so I just kind of revved everything all up. I said, what if he's so excited to do everything with this excavator? Because excavators can do a lot. They're kind of like a jack of all trades machinery, but there are things that other tools, other construction machineries do better. And so I thought, what if he's so excited to do everything that he just tries to do everything all the time? And sometimes that does not go so well. And his team and his crew starts getting a little frustrated with him because he's just yeah, I'll do it. And then at the end, some things don't go so well, really badly. And they have to kind of bring that back around and being okay, we get it that you're super excited to do this, but we build it best when you're a crew. That's a line in the book. It's let's all do this together. We all have a part to play. And then that's kind of the little mini message that goes in there.
Yeah. Tell me, Michael, is this the first time Brooke and you have collaborated with Brooke?
Yeah, this is the first time I'm ever sort of meeting Brooke.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
This has happened a number of times. The first time it happened, I said hi to folks as they came on, and I noticed the author was kind of crying. And I said, what's wrong? She goes, "Oh, I've never met this illustrator," and he brought my book to life, and I'm so touched. And I thought it was very cool. It was early in the life of the podcast. I was still amazed that there's no contact between most illustrators and authors as they're creating traditionally published books.
Yeah. I mean, I, I understand it from an editorial and art director sort of position. I mean, I think as an illustrator, you want to feel like you have enough space to be able to like really, put your sort of vision into the project. And I think that having a little bit of a separation, at least as an illustrator, it's frees you up a little bit more to sort of take more risks and, like, because ultimately we want to make the author happy, right? And we want them to really love what we're doing. So I think, there's that little bit of space is kind of nice to have as an illustrator. So, you're not getting feedback as you're trying to develop the character or trying to develop, the visual story, because then it might lead you down a road that, maybe like, it's just nice to have the space to create, I think.
Yeah. Was that something that was hard for you to get used to, Brooke, that once the manuscript was out of your hands, it was out of your hands?
Excavator is my 11th book, I think, that will be out in the world. And so by now I'm fairly used to not really having a lot of contact with the illustrator, but I'm also fairly used to seeing some amazing things come from illustrators that I could have never dreamed up in a million years. And so unless there's something really vital to the story that has to be in the art, I try not to put that in the manuscript, and I try to let the illustrator go and play and do what they're comfortable with within that wordscape that I've given them. And I'm even open. One thing I've told editors too is like, I'm open to, if an illustrator looks at a text and is like, I don't know, I think that this word could be potentially changed and we could have a lot of fun with this art around this word, I'm open to that as well. I think that it could be a really good, balance between what an author does and what an illustrator does. And I do appreciate the space that the illustrator has to take and run with it. But I also want all of my illustrators, obviously including you, Michael, to know that I'm very collaborative and I'm open to any feedback ever with the text as well. Or you're like, this is just not really working. It's really hard to show this. Like, can we tweak this? Like, I'm down.
I think, as an illustrator, we just get the words. And so it's, we're able to like, sometimes it's a challenge to sort of connect like what is going to happen, from one page to the next. And like, it's really, I mean, that's the really fun part for me. It's like solving a puzzle, right? And so, you get to interpret these scenes in a way that, that maybe the author hasn't thought of. And so, sometimes I get manuscripts with a lot of art notes, and this manuscript had very few. I think maybe there were just a couple about maybe suggestions for some of the who the crew members, what kind of animals they might be. But other than that, I felt really free to be able to just figure out all the fun details, like what they were actually building, like what, how does that fit into the larger story and things like that. So, that's what's so fun about being, what I do, is that it's like, it's putting a puzzle together, and it's always different and it's always surprising.
Yeah. Brooke, what was your reaction when you first received the illustrations or sketches?
They're great. I really love the characters. When I first saw the sketches, they were very basic sketches. And so sometimes at that level, it's harder to envision where the art is going to end up. And I would see things like some of Michael's little like scribbles on there. And I was like, okay, is that actually going to be in there? Is that just like, he was like, nah, I think it's going to kind of look like this. And so sometimes I would just kind of like step back and be like, all right, let's see where this is going. But then as the process went on, I mean, it just developed into such a fun book. And I love the characters in this and how they came to life. And I love the feel of the swamp and how everything sort of came to fruition with this text and the illustrations as well. So it turned out really like just a fabulous project in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that was interesting about this that was different than other projects is it took me a long time to find the main character. I did maybe, I don't know, more than 100 just quick sketches of this character before
Wow.
I found the character.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
And it was, I did a bunch of them and it just wasn't quite right. And then I did a little bit of research and I saw a photo of this adorable, like a baby alligator, like from the front view. And it had these, like, just the way that its eyeballs were positioned. It looked like it had a big smile. And that's kind of all it took. After seeing that, like the next, like 3 sketches were right where the character needed to be. So, and I really love how he came out. He's just such a fun, excitable, like little
dude
character. He like his expression, he embodies that. Just the someone that is really eager to get out there and get his claws dirty and overstep his position by his excitement, I guess. But
Yeah. Boy, I think we all know kids and adults like that. And
yeah.
The way you rolled your eyes, Brooke, it sounds like there might be somebody in your life that's like that on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, I've got a couple of kids myself, and both girls actually. It's funny because I write a lot of books and that are sort of people assume kind of angled toward boys, and what I tell them is, well, first of all, I grew up with brothers, so I grew up playing in the dirt, building forts in the woods and things like that, and so that's where some of those ideas come from as well. But also, I write books with the goal that they're ones that dads will pick off the shelf. Because I feel like dads are the pickiest read aloud readers. I mean, if a dad's attention cannot be gripped within the first couple pages, like, then that's it. Like it's a done deal. And I don't know, I don't know what I'm trying to say about men versus women and patience. Maybe I'm just not going to go there. But yeah, that's my ultimate goal with all of my books, is to write books that the dad will pick off the shelf. And so a lot of my characters tend to be these boisterous, over eager, over excited characters. I have another book about a kraken actually, and it's interesting. I didn't even think about it until somebody mentioned it. She's like, you have all these like really excited characters. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm trying to embody like those boys. They're just getting out there and they're just like, they want to play and they want to get dirty and they want to do all the things. And that tends to come out in a lot of my writing.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of fun. I think Excavator would have absolutely caught my attention and held on to it when I was reading with my kids. And dads, reading with your kids is such a blessing, and it is such a wonderful thing. If you're listening to this, put the work in to get excited about books, because it's just it was the best part of my day when I would read to my kids when they were younger. Yeah.
My daughter's a teenager now, and I really, really like sometimes miss like that, just being able to sit there with her and read. We do other things now. We like sit together and draw and paint and things like that. But yeah, there's something just so comforting about reading with your kid. And, you know, it's, as a professional in this business, it's really a good educational tool for a writer or an illustrator, just to like see how other people do it and just see what works and then what doesn't work. And, you know, also it's just fun to like, you know, almost be, you know, do the voices and, you know, do the character voices and sort of, you know, get a little, actory on, on your kids, you know, cause that's what makes them, that's what gets kids excited in books, right? Is like, you know, it's on the reader to really make it engaging and get the kids, like, get it into their brain and into their heart and into their spirit. And that's how you create new readers or generate that interest in books, is by bringing it to life.
Yeah. Michael, you're absolutely right. Just as you were speaking, I'm realizing that picture books are a collaboration, not only a collaboration between the author and the illustrator, but it's a real collaboration with the reader.
Absolutely.
If you're just sitting there going, "Oh, the alligator got in the thing," but you know, that's not going to work. But if you're like, "Oh, look at this alligator, it's in the excavator," and just, you know, make the comments and have conversations about what's going on, boy, that's a memory that lasts forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
We still read too.
Recently I've been doing, I'm also an author. So I've been, a lot of my books, or my recent books, are like readers for young readers. And it's really been cool to, like, the idea that I'm actually, like, my words and my images are going straight into the reader's brain rather than sort of, you know, going through a translator, so to speak, or, you know, and so it's been really kind of exciting, that idea that, like, what I'm, you know, writing now is going straight into the noggins of of my audience, right? The audience for my books. But just about collaboration, this is, you know, that's one of the things that I love about this too, is that, like, it's not only collaboration with the author, it's collaboration with the art directors, the publicists, the editors, like everyone. You know, we're all trying to make something wonderful and get it out into the world and get kids into it. And, you know, and like, it's, on one level, it's about the story in the book, but on another level, it's about, you know, creating readers, getting kids interested in art, in, you know, literature, stories. Yeah. And that's what's such, like, when the collaboration does that, that's what's the best part of this whole business and industry, and what brings me the most joy.
Yeah. Brooke, you were saying that you still read with your kids?
I still read with my 11-year-old. My 14-year-old recently told me to kind of go pound sand. She's like, "Mom, seriously, I'm 14. Stop reading to me." I'm like, "Oh, we're right in the middle of this book. How am I going to finish it?" But when we're on vacation, we have this huge tome of a book that has taken us now like 2 years to finish, because it's this big, thick book. I cannot even remember what it's called. It's kind of a pseudo, like, fantasy book. And we started it on vacation a couple years ago, and I read it to them both, because we're all in a hotel room or whatever together. And so we bring this book, and it's like our vacation book. And so I'll read like a chapter as, you know, both my kids are going to bed, and yes, they're 11 and 14 and they might complain, but I'm like, too bad. Like, we're going to finish this book. Okay. It's gonna happen. Yeah. So you're just going to have to endure. And my 11-year-old recently, it's funny, it was actually just last night or the night before, and she's like, "Mom, you don't have to read to me anymore if you don't want to." And I was like, "Oh, no, I want to read to you. You would have to come and tell me to literally go away and get out before I stop reading to you. So when you get to that point, okay, fine. But until you do that, like, I will be reading to you, and your dad will be reading to you." We actually have 2 books. We had 2 books per kid, because one would be my book and one would be the dad book. because otherwise it doesn't make sense. Like if you're trading off between the dad and the mom reading every night, that's a chapter book, a novel, and then you're like, I don't know what's happening. So we would have one that my husband would read to the whichever kid, and then one that I would read to whichever kid. And so, yeah, so my youngest, who's just turned 11, she still has 2 books that each of us are taking turns reading to her every night.
Would your kids request specific readers? Like, no, I want mom to read, or no, I want dad to read.
So it's funny because there was a certain period of time where my youngest was like, I only want mom to read because she doesn't go overboard with the voices. Because sometimes my husband would just be like, okay, I'm like, okay, you actually have to read it to where they can understand it. Because he would get to some voice and he'd be like, and then the crow ordered, and it's like, okay, that's hilarious. Nobody can understand anything you're saying. So back it up, buddy. Nobody's handing out Oscars or Golden Globes here. But, but he's just, my husband's got a really quirky kind of, morbid sense of humor. So the novel that they're reading now, it's actually a fantasy series, and every chapter he would pretend it started out with the character dying, the main character getting killed in some brutal way. And so he would pretend to be reading, and he's like, they started the barbecue and roasted up, insert names here, best friends. And my daughter's like, Dad, stop. Stop it. Read the actual words. He's like, those are the actual words. What do you mean? So anyway, trying to keep it real, trying to keep it fun, I guess. Teenagers are hard to entertain.
They are, but they appreciate that we're trying to keep them entertained and trying to stay close with us. And I'm really happy that you continue to read with your kids. We celebrate reading to our tweens, our teens, co-reading and talking about what we're reading in the car on the way to ballet or soccer or the construction site. So I'm really happy to hear that. Brooke, I'm curious, what did the daughter who came up with the name Excavators, what do you think? Is she looking for royalties?
Oh, I think she gets treated pretty well, between the amount of random things that I buy for her room or her art supplies or the occasional Robux that I toss her way for her, we're playing Roblox with her friends. I think she's got it pretty well made. So yeah, she's the 11-year-old. So
excellent. Let's tell everybody where they can go. Brooke, first, where they can go to find out more about Excavator and more about your work.
Sure. Well, I have a website, Brooke, Brookea, as in Apple, Hartman.com is my website. But you can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. The handle is at Brooks Books AK, Brookes Books AK. And I'm more active on social media. My website I was just actually lamenting to myself this week that I really need to go in there and update it because Excavator isn't even on there yet. So yeah, don't go on there to look for Excavator. It won't be there anytime in the next couple days, but, social media, definitely. I try to keep that updated with if I'm going to be anywhere. As far as like author visits or if I'm going to be traveling anywhere out of Alaska. For instance, TLA, Texas Library Association, has their big convention coming up in March, and I will be there. And I think we're going to try to get some Excavator books signed. So if you're a librarian listening to this and you plan on being at TLA, then look for me there. And yeah.
Awesome. Michael, where can we go to find out more about your work?
Well, my website is slackart.com, and I'm most active on Instagram, and my Instagram handle is at Michael_slackart.
We've had a great time speaking to the author and illustrator of Excavator. It is the latest book from our guests, Brooke Hartman and Michael Slack. Hey, my friends, thanks so much for being on Reading with Your Kids. Hey, my friends, one of my favorite parts of the day is story time. There's just something magical about snuggling up with your kids, opening a great book, and escaping into an adventure together. And let me tell you, that moment becomes even more magical when you're curled up in the softest, coziest bedding you've ever felt. That's why I'm so excited that CozyEarth.com is supporting reading with your kids. Their bamboo sheets, comforters, and pajamas are unbelievably soft, naturally breathable, and temperature regulating, which means no more sweaty nights or chilly toes. Right now, Cozy Earth is offering Reading with Your Kids listeners an unbelievable and exclusive 41% off their entire site. That's right, you heard me right, 41% off. So go ahead, create your own cozy reading nook, wrap yourself and your kids up in something comfy, grab your favorite bedtime book, and turn story time into the best part of your day. Head on over to CozyEarth.com and use the promo code READ at checkout to save 41%. That's CozyEarth.com, promo code READ. Hey, my friends, I have a super idea you are going to love. How about this weekend, turn your backyard cookout into a storybook celebration. Fire up the grill, crack open a few of your favorite picture books, and serve up Big Fork Brand's legendary bacon sausage. Made with nitrate-free bacon and premium pork, it's juicy, smoky, and unforgettable. Top it off with Big Fork's spicy Chicago fire sauce, and you've got a meal as bold as the characters in your favorite bedtime tale. Get 20% off your order using the promo code READ at bigforkbrands.com. That's bigforkbrands.com, promo code READ to get 20% off, because nothing brings families together like great food, great books, and a whole lot of flavor. Big Fork Brands. Read, grill, repeat. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a look at a great picture book biography. Our guest is here today to celebrate her new book. It's called Otherwise Known as Judy the Great. Please welcome to the show, Selina Alko. Selina, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I have to say before we start, folks, you can't see it, but Judy, Selina has the coolest pair of glasses on right now. They got spangles on the bottom of the frame and black top. It looks fantastic.
Thank you.
So tell us, who is this Judy the Great?
Well, it is the one and only Judy Blume, beloved picture book creator since the early 70s, late 60s. I grew up with her books and was obsessed as a child myself. And I've been making children's books for 25 years now. And I love to do biographies. So I felt like Judy Blume was a perfect subject for me to cover.
Tell her, what did you discover about her that you didn't know when you started researching for this book?
Lots of things. I guess I knew she was a Jewish child who grew up in New Jersey. But I didn't know that much. I didn't know that her family, they listened to World War II on the radio. They were well aware of what was happening overseas. That was part of like what sort of fed her her anxieties as a child. That her parents, she was very close with her father, especially. She was like a daddy's girl. And her mother, she had a special relationship with as well, but, her mother was more, they were like the silent generation. They really didn't like share a lot of information, with Judy. So she, but her mother did let her read whatever she wanted. So she got a lot of things from books and with her friends groups. So that's how they sort of like learned about the world, which actually, and she, Judy, I was in touch with her for, throughout revising my manuscript, and she did give me some specific stories as well.
Really? That must have been a real treat.
It really was. She was so warm and wonderful and forthcoming. Yeah. So she shared a few little anecdotes with me, like, just specific things about her sibling dynamic. She had an older brother named David, and he was a bit of a mischief maker. And he, at one point, he spilt this fake ink set on their brand new wall-to-wall carpeting, which really upset their mother. But luckily it was fake ink, and it was April Fool's Day. So
I can imagine a mom back then. I'm almost 100 years old, so I grew up with the plastic covers on the couches, and we even had it on the rug. We had a white shag rug that was so cool, but we couldn't step on it. So if I had fake ink, I'd be dead right now. I wouldn't have lived long enough to let my mother know it was fake.
So I guess her mother wasn't that bad.
That wasn't that bad. No. So, you said that you were always enjoyed her books. What was it about her books that stood out so much to you?
Well, she just wrote such honest characters, like their thoughts and feelings, like mirrored, like things that, I was feeling and thinking. I really could relate to her protagonists. They were very real stories, really things that happen with, kids at school and bullying. And, one book is about a family, or the few of them dealt with divorce, and my parents were very unhappily married. So, I think I was able to kind of work through different struggles and feelings by reading her books. And they were very comforting to me.
Yeah. Did you ever get, when you were a kid and reading those books, did you ever get the feeling of like, how does she know so much about me?
Totally. Yeah. I felt very understood. Exactly. I felt very close to her. And I felt, I even working on this project actually has made me feel just closer and closer. It's just this unexplainable, connection. And I'm not alone. I mean, millions of her readers feel this way.
Yeah. You mentioned that you love writing biographies. What is it about biographies that you enjoy writing about so much? Wow, that wasn't English at all, but hopefully you were able to translate it.
Oh, totally. I just love real stories. So I love to find out more about people that I admire who've done great things with their lives, and how, like, what was their path to success? What did they have to overcome in childhood? Because usually most people have difficulties and adversity, and, they have to kind of work through those things and develop grit and resilience. And usually people that end up going on to doing wonderful things, like someone like Judy Blume, or I did a biography about Joni Mitchell, one of my favorite musicians. Usually they've had to, overcome a lot of obstacles. So I like learning about what those specific things were, and how can I even apply that to my own life? It kind of, or, and kind of make it a little more universal, so that how could any kid who's reading this biography somehow relate to having to face adversity and work through it and ultimately follow one's dreams.
We've talked here on the show a lot, especially regarding spooky middle grade novels, that it's a great way for kids to kind of face potential demons in their mind. And what I'm hearing from you is that you're hoping your biographies help younger kids in that same way.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, understand that they too can do what they set their heart out to. Don't let sort of the hard things in life stop you from following your dreams. And also, maybe a reader of this book will feel less alone. They will understand that, maybe they also have a hard time with, their parents at times, or struggle with this, that, or the other. But someone like Judy Blume had dreams when she was younger, and she always, she wrote, she read, and she went on to become this incredible writer of these books. So, one can do that. One can be inspired by a story like this.
Yeah. One of the things that I've heard over the years is people telling others, never meet your heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Never meet your hero. And it sounds like you've met a couple of your heroes. You don't have to name names, but have you met any heroes that have disappointed you at all?
I wouldn't say, well, first of all, I haven't yet met Judy. We've been emailing, and I have not been disappointed by our correspondence.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be meeting her actually in March. We're doing a book launch at her bookstore in Florida, Key West, on March 1st.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So I don't anticipate that I'm going to be disappointed. She's very involved in the kid lit world.
Mm-hmm.
She does, she's been on board with this project. So I've heard her speak. I've been in places where she's been on panels and interviewed, and I know she's a very gracious person. I don't think I'll be disappointed. And I'm trying to think. I didn't meet Joni Mitchell. She's not in the children's book world.
Right.
She was, I think, fine with the book that her website featured it, but I did a biography about the Mildred and Richard Loving, the case for Loving.
Mm-hmm.
And they're no longer alive, so I didn't have a chance to meet them. That's it. Thank you for the question. I'm also kind of an optimistic person, so I could spin a disappointing interaction into something positive, probably.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. That's cool. I asked because I've had nothing but pretty positive experiences here on Reading with Your Kids, and I've met some very cool people, been able to share some great conversations with people that I've looked up to over the years. And, so I'm really happy for you.
Thank you. That's so kind. Thanks,
Yeah.
Jed.
So tell me, who would you like to write a biography about that you haven't had a chance yet?
Ooh, my gosh. I'd have to think about it because, because you really, when I do this work, it's really investing years of my life. And I think it takes a lot out of, me as a creator. So I'm not sure who the next subject that I will write and illustrate. I did just illustrate. I didn't write, but I just illustrated a book about Emma Lazarus, the poet who wrote the famous words on the Statue of Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a book that's coming out in a year. It's written by Elisa Boxer, and it's with Abrams, and it's called Words of Welcome.
Cool.
But, so that was really, really fun to illustrate. Again, she's a heroine who is no longer alive, so I won't get to meet her, but I enjoyed the research. And also learning about her childhood and how she became a poet. But yeah, I really have to think about who the next subject will be.
Yeah. I'm curious, as an author illustrator, do you think of yourself as an author who illustrates or an illustrator who occasionally authors?
I would probably say the latter. Mm-hmm. I went to art school. I went to the School of Visual Arts and majored in illustration. And I just love making art and so much. And I love doing picture books. And I do really like coming up with ideas and doing the research, but that takes a huge amount of work. And so that's why I also illustrate other people's stories, because that way I get to kind of do the fun part. Mm-hmm. And, but I don't have quite as much, investment in the books that I illustrate for others. So mm-hmm. it's like when I do get the chance to actually write and illustrate, it is so, rewarding and satisfying.
Yeah. Very cool. I mentioned this a couple of times on the podcast. My beautiful wife and I had a chance to go to the Bologna International Children's Book Festival. And one of the things that was so interesting was there were so many aspiring illustrators. They're illustrating, but they're hoping to get into the business. And you could just walk around, you could see them, because they're there. There's authors there, there's publicists and editors and whatnot. But you could walk through and just go, oh, there's an illustrator right there. There's something, it was something in their eyes, I think, that just, it just really just sang out to the world.
Mm. Yeah, it's quite magical. I'm actually planning to go to Bologna for the first time this year to the book fair.
It's an amazing, one of the things that really blew me away is just how big the children's book industry is. I mean, it is incredible. It took up 5 convention halls.
What? Oh, wow.
The Bologna Ferry is this huge convention space with dozens and dozens of buildings, and they're very substantial buildings. And like I said, it took up 5 of them.
Wow.
And you're going to have a great time there. You're going to love the city of Bologna.
That's what I keep hearing.
It is just a fascinating city. The food is amazing. The bolognese that's what I had every night.
I'm sure.
It was great. And unlike Boston, where there's a Dunkin' Donuts in every corner, in Bologna, there's a cathedral on every corner.
Oh,
there's
wow.
literally a cathedral.
Whoa.
And you go into some and they're like, what's this church? And they go, oh, it's just another church. And I'm like, yeah, not really.
Wow. That's so cool. I can't wait.
Yeah. Tell me, when you're creating a book, a biography, and so you have a person there, how important is it that your illustrations are really accurate about the person that you're drawing?
You mean like visually, their faces?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think in a way, it's more getting the essence of the person than an exact, like realistic portrait. I'm not a realistic painter, artist. My work is done with mixed media, and I use a lot of collage, and I'm quite painterly in my work. So I feel that I go for more of an impression of a person and a place. And I'm going for the feeling of the person more than an exact replica. So, I don't think that, the characterization of Judy is exactly how she looked as a child. I mean, I did look at photos and I watched the documentary of her life a few times. And I know that she was like a thin, I guess they called it skinny at the time, girl with brown curly hair, but, and brown eyes. And same with her father. For example, this is a note that she gave me when I did sketches, of her family. She wanted me to make sure that her father had a little pencil mustache.
Oh.
So that was, certain little accuracies. And her older brother had blondish hair. So, and her mother had blondish hair, which was hard to tell in the black and white photos. But, these are notes that she gave. And so they help with accuracy, but again, it's not exact. The depictions aren't, like photographs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One of the things we love asking authors and illustrators is, what kind of conversations do you think families can have as they're curled up on the couch reading, otherwise known as Judy the Great, together?
Wow. What kind of conversations? That's such a good question. I imagine there'll be a lot of questions, about, maybe what it was like back then for Why isn't there a TV? Why are they listening to the radio? Maybe it's a difference in, that's just such a hard question for me I really don't know. I have not tested this book out yet really with kids. So I'm a little not concerned, but I'm wondering how kids are going to respond to some of the scarier aspects. There were a number of airplane accidents that happened in her hometown. I don't know if you had a chance to read the book, but there's a spread that I have that talks about that one year where her town had these and the kids thought that maybe aliens had invaded because there were, these crashes that repeatedly happened. Her town, Elizabeth, was right next to the airport, to Newark Airport. So I think, kids might have questions about that. And kids are, I don't know how, depends on the ages, but for example, like Stranger Things is really big in our culture now, right? With youth. So I think that, maybe just the speculation, like what happened? Why did that happen? And her father was a dentist. And he was actually summoned. He was asked to help identify the remains of some of the victims of those crashes at the time. And that's in here as well. I mentioned that. So that's that's a scarier. And then the fact that World War II was happening overseas. And I do mention bad things happened to the Jewish people, and she was Jewish. So there's some mentioning of, difficult, events, including, another page, talks about the custom of sitting Shiva, which is a Jewish custom of mourning after beloved friends and family die. And so she was famously sat Shiva a lot of times in her childhood for family members. So there may be questions around that.
Yeah. We should tell everybody where they can go to find out more about otherwise known as Judy the Great, and also find out more about you, because you got a lot going on.
Thanks. Well, I have a website. It's my first and last name, selinaalko.com. And I have a Judy the Great dedicated page that you can go to on my website, and from there you can buy the book. You can also, or you can pre-order it. It comes out on February 17th, and it will be available at hopefully your independent bookstore, online, through my website. The book is with Little Brown at Christia Taviano Books, my amazing editor. She has her own imprint, and it was a pleasure to work with her. It's a pleasure to work with Little Brown. I'm so excited about this project.
And this is a book that should be in libraries. So even if you purchase a book for yourself from your local indie bookstore, go to the library and ask if they can make sure it's on the shelves.
Oh, that would be perfect. I would love it.
We had a great time speaking to the author and illustrator of otherwise known as Judy the Great. Our guest has been Selina Alko. Hey, Selina, thanks so much for being on Reading with Your Kids.
Thank you, Jed. It was my pleasure.
Hey, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids. If this episode made you smile or gave you something to think about, please consider sharing a link to the show with someone you love. Write a 5-star review. And, of course, please subscribe to the show wherever you find your favorite shows. We'd also love for you to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram, and Jedley Magic on X. Our YouTube channel, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids, and our website is readingwithyourkids.com. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting, of course, with our sponsors, remember, when you use our promo code READ, R-E-A-D, you'll get a great discount, and we may earn a small commission. Also want to ask you to check out the books of Dr. Peter Cotton. It's a really, really great author and a great series of books. I want to thank our guests, starting with Brooke and Michael Slack. Please be sure to check out Excavators. Also want to thank Selina Alko. Please be sure to check out, otherwise known as Judy the Great. I want to thank my team, Chris Doherty, Jackson Sotelaro. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support and love she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better, more empathetic, more loving, and caring place. And you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.